name is Scott Mendenhall. Welcome to Unlock Church. Excited to have you on the first church service of the new year. I love new beginnings. I love starting things. I really love finishing things as well. I'm a highly goal-orientated guy. I don't know where I get that or why I have it. It's just the thing. I like setting goals, and I like to get them done. Now, I'm not the goal guy like I want to wake up and go, today I want to vacuum and I want to clean. Those are not the goals I have on my radar. They're a little bit bigger than those things. Not that they're not big, and don't read into that. I'm just saying I'm like dreaming crazy things, and I'm like, I got to figure out how to do that stuff. That's what I love to do and love to accomplish it. It's just in me. I enjoy it. But before we get started in today's topic, I saw the picture we had up of Experiencing God, the book study we're going to do. Can we put that back? Who's that guy supposed to be? Like, no, is that God? Is that what God? I just saw it. I was like, I have the digital copy, so I never saw the front of the book. Apparently, that's what God looks like. I thought it looked like Moses. I'm confused. But it is a great book, by the way, okay? If you can't make it to small groups, pick up the book. It's phenomenal. You need to read it, okay? That's it. That's my only plug. I just saw that, and I had to chuckle, and now I got you wondering who that is, too, right? It's either Moses, Jesus. I thought Jesus didn't have so much gray, but or God. Anyways, okay, we can take that down. It was just the way I think and see things, I suppose. Today we are doing one last standalone topic, and then next week we're going to kick off, Are You a Pioneer or Settler? That's where we're going to do a 4-week series on Are You a Pioneer or Settler? It's going to be a fun series. I can't even say more, because if I do, I'll just start giving it away, and I don't want to do that, but that's what we're talking about. If you know where I can get a covered wagon, that'd be great. We'd like that to be on the stage next week, okay? What? Why the laughter? You laugh. Next week, there will be a covered wagon up here. I already got figured out in my mind. I need help. Please help me find that. Seriously. A covered wagon that is easily to set up and tear down, because, it has to leave here. We can't leave it here. Don't roll in here next week with some wagon out there. That won't do us any good. It's got to be up here. Okay. Thank you for allowing me to say that, and your help is welcomed. I'm excited about today's topic. I grew up spending my summers in Nisswa, Brainerd area. That's where my love of Minnesota has come from. I am originally from Peoria, Illinois, and my great-grandparents bought a house on Gull Lake. And that then had changed the direction of my family, because now people would go to their house, right? You're on a lake, so we just come stay up there. And then my grandparents started just providing a cabin for my family. I have 3 sisters. I'm the only boy. And so if you said that, some of you you're going, that makes complete sense now. You're the only boy. You are spoiled. I thought you were spoiled, but it was great, right? All my sisters had hand-me-downs. I didn't, okay? It just didn't happen. I was going to say the worst, but there's a lot of things I had to put up with. But I did. My sisters did put fingernail polish on me. Not usually on my fingernails. For whatever reason, they would draw on my hands. I don't know why. They just would. We have pictures of these things. But we would all venture up north and spend our summers up in Minnesota. Loved it. I mean, I would just run around and jump in the water and fish and get in boats and canoes and all this stuff. Fell in love with Minnesota. Couldn't imagine myself ever being somewhere else. Like, as a little boy, I said to myself, because we'd always return to Illinois, which Illinois isn't that exciting, okay? It's really not. I mean, it's right now, everyone wants to move out of Illinois. It's a disaster there. I think, they're going to split it down the middle, and Iowa's going to get some of Illinois, and Indiana's going to get some more of it. It's just going to be no Illinois at some point, just the way things are going. And so I was, always dreamt about, man, one day I'm going to live in Minnesota. If I ever have a chance, I thought in my mind, I will just retire in Minnesota. Most people want to get out of here when you retire. I was like, I'm retiring in Minnesota for the love of Minnesota. When I started dating Holly, I was like, I got to take her to Minnesota. She's got to pass the test. If she doesn't like Minnesota, this is a deal breaker, okay? I have some standards, okay? And this was one of them. I was like, the soon-to-be Mrs. has got to love Minnesota. And so I brought her up here, and we rented some jet skis, and we're on Gull Lake, and everybody's got their own jet skis, and Holly and I are sharing one, and I'm driving, because that's just how I like to roll. I like to drive, okay? I like to drive the car home. I like to drive. I'm a control freak, apparently. And so we're riding on, and I don't ride jet skis I ride them like I stole it, okay? It's there's no let's just putter around. It's nope, all out, let's just go, right? There's no warning to Holly. It was just I took off, and you just felt her all of a sudden whoa, and grab a hold of my life jacket well, I was not expecting that, and we are just ripping through the lake. I'm looking for waves to hit to try to get the thing out of the water. To me, it's what's the worst that happens to me? I fall off in, I hit some water. It's not so bad. It's just water. We'll be okay. And so we're just flying all over the place. And at some point, I hit a wave, and we get a little air, and I turn enough as we're coming out of the water to make the jet ski do a 180 in the air and come back. Well, Holly was not ready for this. The jet ski and I go one direction, and Holly goes the other direction. Whew! Right? I mean, just gone, okay? It was one of those moments in my life that everything slows down because the woman of my dreams, the woman I'm going to propose to in a few months from this point is now in the air like, oh my gosh, what have you done to me? You know how that is? Like, I don't know why the human body thinks that it can run everything out, right? You just flail your arms and legs everywhere. That's Holly in the air like, oh, hits the water, just splat. I mean, it was a splat. I heard it. And she hits it, and now she's just like, she's not moving. She's like a little bobber, just go boing, boing, boing. I turn around, I come back to her, and she's like, I can't breathe. She's like, I can't breathe. And I'm like, wow, that's alarming. Like that's it's just not so good. And I was like, babe, come on. And she's like, you just tell it was a bad deal, like her wind got knocked out of her. But she's in water, and I got a little like, oh, I've just like injured my soon-to-be fiancée wife. I better do something. And so I was overcome with powers that I just grabbed her and ripped her out of the water and got her on the jet ski. It was crazy. She will, like, out of all that story, a few parts might have been exaggerated. That was not. I ripped her out of the water and put her on the jet ski, and she was turning a little bit of purple in the face. And I'm like, oh, I really hope that it's just I knocked the wind out of her because I'm like, what else are we going to do around the... And so she started breathing, she's calmed down. She's like, her first phrase was, I can't believe you did that to me. I thought you loved me. And I was like, I love you. I'm sorry. It'll probably happen again. I was like, let's be honest. Let's just get to it. But that was, I mean, at the end of the day, I did end up paying for a jet ski because my mom was in front of me, and she just let go of the throttle because there were loons 100 yards away, and she just wanted to take a picture, and so she stopped in front of me. And so I'm looking around talking to Holly, laughing. I look forward, and there's my mom just stopped in front of me, and I tried to turn as fast as I could while I ran my jet ski into the back of her. It got air. I almost killed my mother that day, but we laugh at it now. This is real good stories. So if you learned anything today, don't ride jet skis around me, okay? You might be a part of my stories. But here's why I tell that story, and for the love of Minnesota and stuff. One is that we love Minnesota. Like this is home for us. Absolutely love what God has done over the last. We're coming on 5 years this fall, but just to see what God did this last year through Unlock Church, from our parties and the camps, and then the Sunday services and the small groups, and then people getting coffee and people being connected and watching something that was a dream and a goal 5-6 years ago become reality. It's so exciting to be a part of that. And the best is yet to come. We're just getting started. God's just getting started what he's going to do with Unlock Church. It's going to be a phenomenal ride. I'm so glad that you guys are jumping in, and those that are serving and volunteering everywhere. Thank you. Thank you for making dreams come true and helping go after what God's doing in the Twin Cities through Unlock Church. It's so amazing. What God put in the heart of a little boy one summer up in Gull Lake, to see it coming to fruition is pretty wild. And that to know that we're changing people's lives and people are finding Jesus is so exciting. And today, I want maybe today's topic isn't something that you need today, but I promise you at some point this year, you're going to need to tap into this. So you need to take some notes to say, in the future version of me, I need to remember this today. Okay, and if you don't hear anything else and you forget the story about the jet ski and the love I have for Minnesota and the love that Holly and I have for you, don't ever forget that. But if you do, don't forget this, that God is a way maker. God is a way maker. He makes the impossible possible. He makes the dreams that just seem like you can't do it. And those are the best dreams to have, is the dreams that you know you need God to be involved for it to take off, because then you don't steal the credit. You don't go, look at what I did. You go, look at what God did. I mean, when I look out here today and we're adding rows today, and I look out there and go, look at what God's doing. I don't go, look at how awesome Scott is, because I know, as Brian said in worship, I'm a messy guy. I haven't got it all together. I have insecurities. I have things that I want to fix that I'm just like, why? Why do I constantly do that? Why? I have those things. And so I know what God is doing. I look out and see what God's doing. It's like, wow, God is a way maker. He's a way maker. And sometimes we try to do too much on our own, and therefore we don't get the results we want nor need, because we say, God, you're like the elf on the shelf. I'll just use you when I want to, but until then, you stay on the shelf. That's not God. God wants to be involved in you. Everything God wants is in a relationship with you and me. Everything that you read through the Bible from the beginning to the end is always about God trying to get back into a relationship with you and me. That's the whole good news deal, is Jesus came to bridge the gap back into a relationship with God. God wants you and me. And he wants to download into us dreams that are impossible, because he wants to go, watch what I'm going to do when somebody says, here am I, use me. Are you available to God to use you this year? When you wrote down, I don't know if you wrote it down, you typed it down, you just are thinking it in your mind, things you would like to accomplish this year, where is God inside those goals? Maybe the things you ran after last year aren't the things that you should necessarily be running after this year. And sometimes the things that were really hard last year, you need to stay at it still, because God's like, I want to keep going after those goals because I got stuff to teach you and I want to reach people with it. So not always are all the hard things that we just need to be given up. Sometimes, and most oftentimes, the hard things in our lives that we could easily just say, I wash my hands of, God's like, no, stay put. Because I need you to be there to be a light in the darkness. You know, there's two things to God really with us as we move around through our lives. If you're a young person to an adult, there's two things God's doing in our lives. You're either on mission or you're in a lesson. You're either on mission or in a lesson, and sometimes it's a hybrid of both. You're on mission and you're all of a sudden in a lesson mode. So identifying what season in life you are in with God really helps you understand what's going on. Are you on mission? Is the place where you work, are you on mission there to be a light in the darkness? Are you on mission there to spread the good news there? Are you on a mission at the place you work to be the positivity, to not let all the negativity wear you down, not to be, because it's very easy to get in those positions that are negative and just jump in under the negative. Are you there spreading the good news? Like, hey, why are you always so happy? Man, because I know the good news. Well, what's the good news? It's this. Or in your life, are you in a lesson? Is God trying to teach you some characteristic things in your life, or things that you need to work on with your character in your life? Is he trying to teach you those things? Is he trying to get less of yourself out of you so he can be more in you? John, the author John says, more of you and less of myself. More of you, God, and less of me. Like, I know me. All my tendencies are everything I don't want to be. My human nature, unchecked and unchanged, is always going to be about me. That's human nature. That's true of everyone. And some of us as adults, as we've gotten further along, we figured it out and we're starting to go, okay, it's about other people. And sometimes we bump into adults that haven't figured that out, and you're like, that person just grinds me. They're about themselves. That person needs to hear the good news. And the good news needs to not just be a knowledge thing. It needs to be a heart thing, going, I want to be more like Jesus. And when we get to that spot, we can join in with the author John, where he writes, I want more of you, God, in my life and less of myself. I want to be about other people's dreams. I want to be about other people's families. I want to be about other people. I want to be a part of what the Waymaker is doing, because he's making a way in some of the most scary moments in your life, in my life. And I could sit up here and I could tell you a bunch of moments in my life, and I've got lots of them where God made a way. And I can't tell you why or how. It just was. It's like, unless God moved that thing in my life, it was not happening. You have those things in your life that you're looking out at this year going, I don't know how. Understand that God is a way maker. And that's one of the benefits of being in a relationship with God. It's not the reason we jump into a relationship with God. No way. That's not what, I don't get into a relationship with you because of what can you do for me. That's not authentic. That's you being a user, and we don't want to be around people like that. Well, that's not why we jump into a relationship with God. God, what can you do for me? Oh, well, if I'm in a relationship with God, I don't go to hell. So that's good. If I'm in a relationship with God, He provides a way when things are impossible. No, I'm in a relationship, and I'm speaking for myself. I'm in a relationship with God because of what He's done for me. He sent His Son Jesus to die on a cross and to rise again. He paid a price. That without that, life would look very different for every one of us. And because of that moment, He gave His Son. I now am in debt to God. I don't expect God to do anything. Now, because He loves us, He does stuff. And that's pretty cool, and I can't explain it all the time, and I don't understand it, but He loves us. But I'm not in a relationship with Him because of what He can do for me. Nor am I in a relationship with Holly because of what she can do for me. It wasn't like we sat down after I flipped her off the jet ski, and I said, all right, Holly, before I propose to you, what do you bring to the table? What do you got to offer? You got cooking skills? Can you build a house? Can you take care of a budget? Those conversations didn't happen. They probably should have, but they didn't. I just looked at her and was like, man, you're hot. I want you. Do you want me? Great, let's get married. Okay, that's really what it came down to. It was no like, what do you bring to the table? It was just, man, it was like every Christmas movie you watch, right? It's like that's what happened to me when I saw Holly. I was just struck over the head with, whoa, that's hotness right there. I need that woman in my life. She makes me better. I don't know why she makes me better. I just function better when she's around. And all of you that know that, you're like, yes, this is true. She does. She's the better half. I agree. She's the better half. That's why I keep her so close. I just do. She's the better half. You need to meet her. If you've not done coffee with Holly, do coffee with her. She's amazing. She has like bow hunting skills, nunchuck skills, little Napoleon Dynamite there for you. So God's the way maker. Like, can that become a new name for God? Like, God is my Father. God is my best friend. God is God. He's the way maker. If you go through the Old Testament, a lot of the Old Testament authors, they really spend a lot of time about who God is, and they've got all these names for God. Can God become a name in your mind as He's the way maker? Like, you've already heard me talk about Holly. That's her official name. I call her Babe, but I call her Hotness most of the time. And no one else calls her Hotness, and if you called her Hotness, that'd be weird. I might raise an eyebrow and go, that's alarming. Okay, what you doing? And like, come on. No, Holly, that's her name, and that's how you'll know her is Holly. But I know Holly on a whole nother level. She's the Hotness because I know her. I know her like nobody else in this room or nowhere else in the world. I know her. And she knows me. When we get to know people past their first name, we somehow call them by something else. We have a nickname. We know them. If God is just God and you don't have another name for Him, I invite you to get to know Him on a whole nother level. Because God to me, yes, He is God, and I mean no respect by calling Him the Waymaker, but He is the Waymaker. And I mean no respect by calling Him my best friend, but there are times I need a best friend to help me. At times I need a heavenly Father to come along and say, hey, buddy, you're being an idiot. Stop that. I need that. Sometimes I need the grace that God has. I need that. You're being an idiot, but I still love you. I made you. Can you this year find God in a whole nother level? Now I understand in a room this size that there are people that are on different levels with God. You walked in here and you don't have a relationship with God. That's cool. That's okay. But maybe today God start to nudge you to take a step in a direction. That you start doing investigation to figure out who God is in your life. That you don't just use the excuses that this culture has about who God is and religion is bad. We're not talking about religion. We're talking about relationship. If you had to, in your own mind, rank your relationship from a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being perfect. Let me describe perfect relationship with God. You pray 24 hours a day. You read your Bible more than once a day. Okay, that's how we define perfection. That you prefer other people more than yourself 100% of the time. That's 10. 1 being, I believe Jesus is the Son of God, and he died on the cross and rose for me. Okay, that's 1. Where are you at? You're not saying this out loud. So no, this is for you. Like, be honest. Don't do what we do so well. Is like we look at other people and go, oh, they're like a 1. That person should say 1, but I'm like a 5. I'm like average. Nope, don't do that. This is about you. Where's your relationship with God? Now, how do you take it up another level? What do you need to do? I promise you this, that our small groups, this semester, we run our small groups on semesters. This Experiencing God is going to help you take your relationship with God to another level. It's a great book. It's going to give you tools on how to be a follower of Jesus and answer some of those questions like, why do we sing songs? What is prayer? And how do you actually pray? Why should we read our Bible? Why should we get together as a group of people? What should we do? Why should we care about telling people about the good news? All of that is in this Experiencing God. I promise you it's going to be something that's going to just make your mind explode. That was, in case you didn't know what that was, as explosion. Like, whoa, that's God. And so these are questions I'm asking myself. I've been a follower of Jesus since 7th grade. 7th grade, I watched my dad in a church. We sat in the back row that day, and some pastor stood up and talked about Jesus. And I watched my dad, who is a big man, walk down the aisle, sobbing his eyes out, came to the front, like old school, down to the front, kneels down, pastor prayed with my dad. And then all of a sudden I watched my dad pick up the Bible and start reading it. And I just started watching things change in my dad. I was like, man, what's the difference? And he came to me at one point and said, Scott, I wish I knew what I knew now as an adult. I wish I knew at your age. You're going into middle school. I wish I knew who Jesus was when I was in middle school and high school. And for whatever reason, he said that, it just rang in my head. I couldn't shake it. It was in my head. I was like, no, Jesus, I don't know him. And so I went to my second oldest sister, Jenny, and I was like, Jenny, what is it to know Jesus? Dad said he wishes he knew Jesus like he does today. What does that mean? And we had this big, long conversation about it as a sister to a brother would. And I was like, I think I like this idea. I want to know Jesus. And so what we did is we just sat on my bed and we just prayed. She's like, Scott, I don't know what exactly you got to pray, but like, let me just ask you like 3 questions. Do you believe Jesus is who he said he is? I was like, yeah, I believe that. Okay. So like, just pray that. Like, just say you believe. I was like, okay. I'm looking around. She didn't tell me to close my eyes. I'm like, is it kind of a little weird? Because she's like your sister and you're sitting on a bed like, who am I talking to? Like, am I looking at you, Jenny? Like, she's like, no, just look at the ceiling. I was like, okay. Jesus, I believe in you. You know, so it's like so like awkward, but it was just changing forever. I mean, from that moment, I've not been perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I've been a follower of Jesus ever since. It was the best decision I ever made in my life because I didn't make some of the major mistakes that I watched other people in my high school career make that weren't followers of Jesus. Or I didn't listen to teachers that told me I was not good enough because I couldn't read. They told me I'd never do something with my life. I just didn't add up when teachers and adults were not pouring into me the right way, when they weren't believing in me, when I would go back and read what the Bible said, what the authors of the Bible talked about. I just was like, it doesn't match. Jesus is saying this, that God is the way maker. Impossible is nothing with God. I want that. But when you go and talk to these adults who seem to have it all together, are telling you as a young kid, like, hey, your disabilities are going to limit your life. So you should be prepared for that. Like you, Scott, you're talking about like by 7th grade at the end of the year, I was like, man, I want to be a pastor. I just did. I was like, I want to encourage people, inspire people. So from 7th grade, there was never a question when I graduated high school what I was going to do, or it was always, I'm going to be a pastor. I didn't know all the ins and outs of being a pastor. The 41-year-old version of the pastor guy now, I might go back and have a conversation with myself and say, hey, okay, it'd be great if you learned these things and you actually knew how to do a few things. It'd be great. It'd just be so wonderful. We wouldn't have to learn it when we're like 30 years old, okay, buddy? Just get to it now. Let's help ourselves here. I might say those things. But at 41 years old, being a pastor, I always want to inspire you to take a step in your relationship with God. And those that are driving today that are not in a church in the Twin Cities and they don't know Jesus, that's where my heart breaks. Is like, how do we get to them? How do we help them? Not to fill a room up. You see this. If you want vision casting and where we're headed, we want to fill this room up. Not for ourselves to go, good job, wow, we packed the room out. No, because when we fill this room up, that means we're reaching more people that don't know Jesus. That's who we're after. That's who Jesus is after. We want to be after what Jesus is after. And so if you know people that don't know Jesus, invite them. We're going to invite them into a relationship with Jesus. If you're like, okay, so I'm on mission at my work, but I don't know exactly how to do what you're saying, Scott, that's fine. We're going to constantly make an environment where it's great for a first-time guest to hopefully feel comfortable, enjoy themselves, and introduce Jesus to them. And then when they go to work the next day, you can go, hey, what do you think about this Jesus guy? He's my best friend. He's also the way maker in my life. There's a few other names I have for him, but currently that's what he's doing in my life. And so I jump into a relationship with Jesus in 7th grade because of the things that I heard my sister talk about, and I saw in my dad's life that he changed my dad's life, and I was like, I want that. And when I talk about things that I read in the owner's manual that didn't line up to what adults were telling me, I chose to listen to what Jesus was saying and apply them in my life. One of these verses is this, and this just gives credit to that God is a way maker when things just aren't moving in your life. Hey, God's still doing something. He's the way maker. You might not see what he's doing, but he's doing something. The author Matthew, who was formerly a tax collector, really despised by the Jewish people because he's just a crook. He would steal your money. Matthew writes this words that Jesus said in Matthew chapter 17. When they came to the crowd, we got music. I should have rolled with it, but I was like, where are we going here? Somebody's hijacking. Here's the story. We're getting a little context here in Matthew 17, verse 14. When they came to the crowd, a man approached Jesus and knelt before him. Lord, another name for God, right? Lord, okay, Lord, have mercy on my son, he said. He has seizures and suffers greatly. He often falls into the fire or into the water. So this guy, we don't know his name, big crowd, he's frustrated. He comes and approaches humbly. One of the first things we got to understand is that when we understand that we are not the story, we're part of a story, that means we'll come humbly to God going, God, I just put myself before you, and I'm going to ask for these things. But I know you might not answer it, and I'm okay with it, but here's where I'm at. So this man comes, bows down, Lord, have mercy on my son. He has seizures, and he's falling all over the place, and it scares me. He's asking Jesus to heal him. And you're going to learn why he's frustrated. But what I love about this man, unknown guy's name, he illustrates faith. The definition we use oftentimes around here about faith is this, knowing that God can, but will he? That's faith. I know God can, but will he? I don't know that most of the time in my life when I'm praying for things or praying for you. I'm like, God, here's what I'm asking. This is what all of us are asking for. I know you can heal. I know you can change that person. I know you can save that person. I know you provide resources for this. I know you can. But God, will you act on my behalf? And then walking away after having that conversation with God, being okay with whatever it is. Because just because we say God's the waymaker doesn't mean he's instant waymaker. He's doing something. And sometimes the prayers we pray for, it takes months. That's why it's so good to keep a journal of some sort to keep track of the things you're asking him to do. Man, if you've never done it, may this be a year you pick up a leather back paper journal and write down what you're asking God to do. And every once in a while, go back to what you prayed for and asked for today, because then you'll get to see it. Because oftentimes we miss what God's doing, not because he's not doing something, because we don't have the eyes to see it. Don't you want the eyes to see it? Because when I see God showing up and show off in your life, or in my life, my God meter just rises up. It's like, man, he is the way maker. He provided a job when a job ended here. He said, I got you. Enjoy that severance because I got you another job over here. You're going to get double income. I am hooking you up. What seemed like a bad deal, I'm taking care of you. Just hang tight. Don't freak out. I'm the way maker. You have no idea what this year holds. You're going to have some highlights that you're going to post on Instagram and social media and talk all about it. And those little moments that don't make it on that, those are the moments where you got to go, God, what you doing? Where are we headed here? God, I pray that this will be a short amount of time. May you be the way maker. Provide a way out. And ask him, what do I need to learn? And so this man, frustrated, comes and he says, okay, I brought him to your disciples, but they couldn't heal him. So here's why he's frustrated. Your crew of guys that you call disciples, they are not good at what you asked them to do. They did not heal him. It's real frustrating. I brought him. They prayed. Nothing happened. Here's where you got to understand in the story. I'm going to go backwards before we finish this. In Matthew chapter 10, so we go back 7 chapters. The 12 disciples, I'm going to read it, chapter 10, verse 5. These 12 disciples sent out with the following instructions from Jesus. Do not go among the Gentiles or enter in any town of Samaritans, okay? So he's giving instructions. Go rather to the lost sheep of Israel. So what he's saying is go for the people that don't know me. Don't go to places. He's not saying the Gentiles are bad people or the Samaritans. What he's saying is just find people that don't know me. That's who you're to go. You're not looking for villages just because that's a cool place. Don't go, hey, downtown because it's a hot spot. It's like, I would like that guy a place to eat there. So I'm going to know. He's like, go find people that don't know me and go there. Go rather to the lost sheep of Israel, and as you go, proclaim this message. The kingdom of heaven has come near. Heal the sick, raise the dead, clean those who have leprosy, drive out demons. Freely you have received, freely you give. God saying, or Jesus saying, I hooked you up, now go do so. Go do it. Well, they're out saying, no, we can help your sick kid. We can do it. Jesus told us we could do it, and they pray and nothing happens. I would be frustrated too. These guys wasting my time. I'm going to go to Jesus. You should always just go to Jesus. Matthew chapter 17. So we go back 7 chapters. This is Jesus' response. You unbelieving and perverse generation, Jesus replies. He is not talking to the crowd. I think he's looking at the 12 going, you're a bunch of morons. I don't think that's right. But he's giving the face like, are you serious? I told you that you could do this. Obviously, they didn't have the faith to believe. Jesus replied, how long shall I stay with you? How long shall I put up with you? Bring the boy to me. So he's just like, oh my gosh, this is the best God's given me as you 12. Oh my goodness. We're in trouble. And I'm supposed to, he knows the end's coming around. I'm sure he's going, I'm supposed to leave all this in the hands of you guys? Oh my gosh, we are in big trouble. Probably questioning his leadership ability and stuff. And so Jesus turns around and he heals the child. So drives out the demons. And so then he tells you, he continues to verse 20. He replies, because you have so little faith, truly I tell you, if you had faith as small as a mustard seed, you could say to this mountain, move here or there, and it would move. Nothing will be impossible for you. And I've read that since 7th grade. I'm like, yes, if I have enough faith the size of a mustard seed, and it's a teeny little seed, okay? If I have that kind of faith, I could just look at a mountain and say, be gone with you. Be gone. Like, I drive by mountains all the time. I'm like, mountain, move. They've not moved. I was like, what's my problem? I just got to work on my Jesus faith. And then I was realizing a little bit ago that when you really start breaking it down, does Jesus really mean physical mountains or does he mean something else? And I think he means something else. When you go, and again, I went to school to do this, so I'm not expecting you to do this, okay? I went to school to this. I just like, what does mountain mean? Where are we headed with this? When you come to this word mountain, it doesn't necessarily mean physical mountain, the Rockies. It's kingdoms. Kingdoms. You'll be able to move kingdoms. All of a sudden, when I figured that out, I was like, goosebumps, chill. Here's what it's saying, that we have the ability to move culture with the good news. That's what he's saying. With a little bit of faith that, hey, I am on mission to spread the good news to my family, friends, coworkers. I can because of who has sent me. And with just a little bit of faith, we can change culture. But for too long, followers of Jesus have stepped back going, what am I going to do? Culture's just going to do what they're going to do. It's so overwhelming and headed to the wrong direction. No, Jesus repeatedly, even here, says you are, if you have enough faith, you can move the kingdom. You can impact it with the good news. He also says to people, he says, hey, look, you are to be the salt of the earth. Salt in our world is seasoning. Woo! Flavor it up. Tastes so good. In their culture, salt was not used for flavoring. It was to preserve the integrity of the meat. You saturated it with salt, like you just covered the meat with salt, and it would get in the meat, and salt did its job. It preserved the integrity of the meat so you didn't get sick. When he's talking about you and I are the salt of the earth, we are the preservatives of the way of Jesus. We're to preserve the way it is to be a follower of Jesus. That's you and me. Are you preserving the way? Do you know the way? And it's okay if you don't. That's not me smacking you on the hands. That's why we're providing what we are in small groups this time, so we can equip you to be the right preservatives so you preserve culture, the Jesus culture. That we don't just sit there and go, oh, that's so awful that culture would do that. They're going to do what they're going to do because they don't know followers of Jesus. It's when I get in conversations with people, like they talk about Hollywood and how awful Hollywood is. And I'm like, what do you expect? They don't know Jesus. Why should I get upset at them? They're behaving as if they don't know Jesus when they don't know Jesus. How about instead of telling them that I don't like what they're doing, how about I tell them who Jesus is and preserve the way of being a follower of Jesus? Because when I preserve the way of being a follower of Jesus, I'm telling other people that God is a way maker in the big obstacles in your life. With a relationship with God, you see God working things out for good. Wrap up with this last story, and I hope this is the story that just really, like my hope is to just pump you up with your faith. You go into the new year saying, okay, God is the way maker. I have things that need to move in my life. Maybe it is you want to get debt free. And you're like, I don't know how that's going to happen. But maybe this year you're going to go, I'm going to do it right. God, what do you want me to do with my finances? God, what do you want me to do with the stuff that I just keep hoarding in my house? I need to get rid of it because I'm just holding it on for myself. I should give it away. Maybe you're going to make a care package for people that you see on the side of the road and you're going to take care of them. Maybe you're going to make a New Year's goal of every time I see someone on the side of the road, I'm going to make sure I help them. Maybe you're going to make a New Year's resolution. When you see a need, you're going to meet every single need you can possibly meet because that's what God's called you to do. I asked last week and I ask again, what is God asking you to do with this decade? What's he asking you to do? What are you going to do with it? There's this story in the Old Testament, the Jewish scriptures, in 2 Kings. One of my favorite stories recorded in 2 Kings. Because it just proves my point of the waymaker, that God is up to something even if you don't see him doing something. You have to understand that God is not up there going, hey, I'm out playing golf or riding his one wheel. He's probably riding one wheels, let's be honest. It's like you're floating, right? Come on. And so God's not out there doing those things going, I'll get right with you. No, he's on the job all the time. He's not forgotten about you. He knows exactly what's happening in your life. May this be a story that you just tuck away when you lose a little bit of that faith that God's up to something. May this come to back to your memory. It's found in 2 Kings chapter 6. And we're going to start at verse 8. There's a lot of history here. I'm going to try to do it as fast as I can. Okay, so you got this. Now the king of Aram was at war with Israel. Okay, you can look this up in all history books. This is the real deal. This king, he wasn't at war like marching his troops out like, okay, let's go attack you. He was doing like guerrilla warfare style. He would attack a village here and go over here and attack that village. He was just raiding. He would set out raid parties, okay? So it was small groups of military guys going out and just messing up villages and cities and just come back home. So he was always at war, but it wasn't the war that we're commonly in these days. He was really just trying to be a nuisance. Okay? And so, verse 9, the man of God sent a word to the king of Israel. Beware of passing that place where this King Aram has moved his troops to. Man of God is also the prophet. A prophet, God would often speak through the prophet to the people. That's how God did it in the Old Testament. He had prophets that he would speak to, and then they would speak on the behalf of God. I know some people are like, I got problems with that. Well, good thing that's not happening today, okay? You can read your Bible and Jesus will speak right to you on said topic. It's a beautiful thing. Thank goodness for Jesus. But God spoke through a man here, and he goes to the king, and he says, listen, be careful taking your crew through this part of the city because the king has placed his raiding party there. You're going to want to go around it. And so what do you think the king of Israel does at the time? He goes around the area. He's like, okay, this sounds like sound advice. I'm going to avoid that area, which really irritates King Aram. Why does it irritate him? Because he thinks he's got a snitch in his kingdom. He thinks somebody's ratting him out. Somebody is telling their plans to Israel. And so he sits everybody down and goes, okay, hey, all right. Who's telling the secrets? Who is it? Find them all. Let's find them. Let's get them out, and we're going to kill them because this can't. Somebody's, and they go, okay, hey, king, I don't know how you're going to receive this. They probably were really nervous to come to the king. Okay, look, they got this guy. He's a prophet. God speaks through him, and that guy is ratting you out. Okay, he knows everything. I love what the author of 2 Kings says to understand like the bigness of this. Now, let me find it. You would have thought I would have highlighted it really well here, but I didn't. None of us, my lord, said one of the officers, but Elisha, the prophet who is in Israel, tells the king of Israel every word spoken or what you speak in your bedroom. He's trying to make it like, look, you can't even think a thought, okay? God knows, God tells Elijah, and it's happening, okay? He's like, okay, well, then we're going to go and get Elisha. We're going after that guy. And so he sends out, the author writes here, not a raiding party, but a ginormous army. He's like, we're going to get this guy. I'm tired of this. This is irritating me. We're going after this one guy. Maybe in your life this year, or maybe you're sitting there, you feel like the world's coming at you. May this, what happens next, be a thing that inspires you to keep moving forward and that God is a waymaker. When the servant of the man of God got up and went out early the next morning, an army with horses and chariots surrounded the city. Oh, no, my lord, what shall we do? The servant asked. Okay, so servant to Elisha wakes up, sees this army just like circling the city like, yikes! Wakes him up, hey, whoa, there's a big army out here. They're coming for you. What should we do? I'm sure Elijah wakes up like, oh my gosh. Probably the same response Jesus had with his 12 disciples going, oh my gosh, have I not taught you anything? Like, just relax. If God can tell me what's going to happen for another army, don't you think he'll show up here? He says, don't be afraid, the prophet answered. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them. I'm going to reread that. This is for you. If you're sitting there and you're like, okay, is God the waymaker? Those who are with you are more than those who are with them. Whatever your giant is in your life, that thing, like you can't decide, do I need a new job? Why do I feel this discomfort in my job? God is with you. And he is with you in a bigger way than the things that are seeming against you. That's got to be encouraging. Like if it's anxiety or depression or any of those things that just mentally grab you, God is bigger than those things. And I love this next part. When the servant of the man of God got up and went out, my notes are everywhere apparently. When Elijah prayed, he prays this, open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see. Then the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he looked, and he saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around. He didn't see it a second ago, but when his eyes were opened to see, he saw what God was doing. Whoa, we're not alone. Wow, they look cooler than that guy's army too. They're on fire and they are not burning. That's amazing. He didn't see it a second ago. The only thing that changed was not what God was doing, was his eyes to see what God was doing. May we in the new year, in the new decade, may we begin to get eyes to see what God is doing. Maybe you're a parent and you've got one child that just is frustrating you and you're like, why do they behave this way? Why can't this change? Understand, may you begin to get a set of eyes to see what God is doing in their lives, in your lives, and know that God is on the job and that the army with you is bigger than that one child, though they are mighty and strong and sometimes outwit you. I'm speaking on my behalf there. God is with you. Jesus says, never will I leave you or forsake you. I will always be there, even when you can't see it. This army, this story, I'm just picturing in my mind like just an epic battle scene. One army, like a Lord of the Rings style, and all of a sudden somebody turns on a light switch and you just see an army that's 10 times the size that's already there, and they look really cool, and you're like, oh, we got this. We got this. You got this. Whatever it will be this year, you got this. And God is a waymaker. Now there's a song that's called Waymaker, and I invite you to YouTube it. It's phenomenal. Like the chorus in it, I'll just read it to you because it's like I listened to this week. I was like, whew, like I feel like we need to this be the anthem for a while. It just starts giving names to God really quick. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that's who you are. Man, that gets me amped. When I look at what's this summer going to look like, and will kids come to summer camp? I don't know. He's the waymaker. He's the promise keeper. He is the miracle worker. And I want to be where I rely on God and not on my abilities. I want Jesus to show up and show off more than he ever has in my life. I want him to show up and show off in your life more than he ever has. I want him to show up and show off in this church more than he ever has. And I want us to have the eyes to see it so we can go, look at what Jesus just did. Whew. That's a game changer. So I leave it to you. You want him to be the waymaker? Do you need him to be the waymaker? When you rank your relationship with Jesus, where are you at? Do you need to grab a hold of some of these things going, okay, I got to take a step of faith, knowing that God can, but will he? I know he can, but will he? I feel alone, but may I have now the eyes, Jesus, to see that I'm not. You got this year. It's going to be a phenomenal year. It's going to be a year of great things. How can I say that so confidently when I know that there's probably going to be some bad things that happen to all of us? It's because God's on the job and he provides a way. May this be the year that our eyes are opened and we see what the servant in Elisha saw. God's army. Be a game changer. Is he a waymaker? Yes. Would you close your eyes for a second?